Well, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome and good morning, Mr. Munawir, as our lecturer of Semantic and Pragmatic. We are from 8th group, and in this moment, we are going to have a deep discussion about discourse and culture. While inside of these matters are about discourse analysis, cohesion, coherence, and the last is about cultural schemata. Well, directly for the first speaker, it's going to be Sri Wulandari, and she's going to discuss about discourse analysis and the example. And the following speaker is going to be Widya Putri MK, and she's going to discuss about cohesion and coherence. And the last speaker is me myself, Triasi Handayani, and I'm going to discuss more about cultural schemata. So just stay tuned and let's check it out.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Here with me, Sri Wulandari, and now I will discuss about discourse analysis. So, what is discourse analysis? It is about the study of how sentences in spoken and written language form larger meaningful units, such as paragraphs, interviews, or conversations. And the other meaning of discourse analysis, it is about examining how language functions and how meaning is created in different social contexts. It can be applied to any instance of written or oral language, as well as nonverbal aspects of communication, such as tone and gestures. And next, the materials that are suitable for discourse analysis include books, newspapers, brochure, website, social media, comments, interview, and conversation. Nah, that's all the materi yang cocok untuk dianalisis di discourse analysis. Discourse analysis adalah analisis wacana yang berbentuk bahasa tertulis maupun lisan. Okay, we continue. For the next, I will explain about discourse analysis deals with. Here I have 4, and the first is how the choice of articles, pronouns, and tenses affects the structure of the discourse. Jadi di sini analisis wacana berkaitan dengan yang pertama, bagaimana pilihan artikel, kata ganti, dan tenses yang mempengaruhi struktur wacana. Jadi kita meneliti, menganalisis salah satu artikel yang udah dipilih, kemudian kita analisis dengan kata gantinya atau pronoun, dan kita juga menganalisis tenses yang mempengaruhi struktur wacana tersebut. Gitu ya. And for the second, the relationship between utterance in a discourse. Jadi di sini analisis wacana itu berkaitan juga dengan hubungan antara ucapan atau kalimat dalam sebuah wacana. Jadi kita juga menganalisis kalimat dalam sebuah wacana tersebut. Nggak cuma wacana, tapi bahasa lisan pun kita bisa analisis. Seperti itu ya. Oke, kemudian yang ketiga, or the third, the moves made by the speakers to introduce a new topic, change the topic, or assert a higher role relationship. Jadi analisis wacana juga berkaitan dengan langkah yang dilakukan oleh pembicara atau penulis untuk memperkenalkan topik baru atau mengubah topik. Jadi semisal kayak kita menulis sesuatu atau kita sedang mengobrol dengan teman kita dan membahas sesuatu masalah atau satu topik. Awalnya kita ngomongin tentang beli baju baru atau ya tentang nilai ya, semisal tentang beli baju baru deh. Nah, di kalimat pertama saya bilang kalau saya punya baju baru. Kemudian di kalimat selanjutnya seharusnya saya masih tetap konsisten dengan baju baru saya, tetap konsisten untuk membicarakan tentang baju baru saya. Tapi saya malah melakukan, semisal tadi di kalimat pertama saya mengucapkan tentang baju baru, ternyata di kalimat yang kedua saya bilang tentang nilai, bukan harga baju tapi nilai yang saya dapat di sekolah atau di kampus dan sebagainya, seperti itu. Jadi di sini juga dianalisis langkah si pembicara itu untuk mengubah topik dari topik satu ke topik yang lainnya, seperti itu, atau kalimat satu ke kalimat yang lainnya. Okay, so the last is the record, spoken or written, of the process by which language is used in some context to express intention. Jadi di sini juga analisis wacana berkaitan dengan pemilihan bahasa untuk mengungkapkan maksud dan tujuannya. Jadi kita juga harus menganalisis nih, pinter-pinter menganalisis. Ini bahasa ngungkapin tentang apa ya? Ada makna tersiratnya nggak sih dari kalimat ini? Contohnya seperti itu. Okay, so guys, the main point discourse analysis is analisa wacana yang bisa digunakan untuk bahasa tertulis maupun lisan dalam bentuk interview, artikel, books or newspaper and others. Ya, kita juga bisa menggunakannya dan kita bisa menganalisisnya. So that's all about discourse analysis, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mbak Ani. So now I'm going to talk about cohesion and cohesive. When we talk about cohesion and cohesive, of course it's always has relation when we try to write or when we try to speak. So what is cohesion mean? Okay, cohesion is the grammatical and lexical relationship between different elements of text which hold it together. And then formal linguistic features, example, repetition and reference. And semantic relationship between sentences and within sentences determined by lexically and grammatically offered. So, in cohesion sebenarnya kita akan belajar tentang susunan kalimat, atau nanti kalau lebih dikerucut kita belajar tentang syntax. Nah, syntax is kelas kata. So for the example, like I drink coffee. I is the subject, and then drink is the verb, and coffee is the noun itself. So we can say that those kind of words, we can say that that is independent sentence. Okay, now the following kinds of cohesion. So there are so many kinds of cohesion here, but I'm going to talk about 3 of them only. The first is reference. What is reference? I like the name. Reference is also kembali. Referensi. Nah, for example, we have 3 kinds. The first is personal reference, demonstrative reference, and comparative reference. Jadi ada 3, yang satu personal, demonstratif, sama comparative. Nah, contohnya di situ bisa dilihat, James likes yellow apples. He eats them every day. Nah, so we talk about personal reference. In the example, interpretation of he refers to another element in the text. Itu kembali ke kalimat pertama, yaitu James. Jadi he di kalimat kedua kembali pada James. Nah, itu personal reference. Similarly, the interpretation of them refers to yellow apples. In this case, cohesion achieved by the use of personal pronoun he and them. Satunya kembali ke benda, sama-sama benda, satunya manusia, yang satunya buah. Okay, so it use he and them. Okay, and then the following is demonstrative. Cukup tahu ya teman-teman, demonstratif itu ya kata tunjuk ya. Contohnya kalau di sini I see your book there. Demonstratifnya di mana? It's there. And then the following is comparative. And then the example, it's the same cat as the one we saw yesterday. So what is the comparative? The comparative is kita melihat kucing yang sama. So we compare the cats, but definitely the cat is the same like what we see yesterday. Okay, and the following is ellipsis. Ellipsis also there are so many kinds. I guess it's 3, but today I'm going to talk about the 2. The first is nominal ellipsis, verbal ellipsis, and then also the last is actually clausal ellipsis. Now let's look at the example of nominal ellipsis. The example is these 2 fast electric trains with photograph. So, what is the nominal ellipsis? It's quite confusing when we talk it in English, but I guess it's very simple. These two fast electric trains with pantograph. The head of the nominal group is the noun, trains. Now, like we know, trains is a noun. An electric classifier, while with pantographs is a qualifier atau nominal. Jadi saling menjelaskan. A black bag. Nah, contohnya. Sama kayak modifier ya. Noun mana yang disifati. Nah, seperti itu. Itu yang disebut nominal ellipsis. Oke, and the following is verbal ellipsis. Nah, kalau verbal ellipsis kita lebih banyak dengar ya. Pokoknya susunan kalimat atau kata yang menggunakan tenses. Oke, jadi semua tenses itu sebenarnya mengandung verb. Seperti contohnya this is my book. Itu ada verbnya. Verbnya mana? Verbnya adalah is. Itu adalah kata bantu atau bisa kata bantu kerja, atau dalam bahasa Indonesia atau orang Indonesia biasa menyebut to be. Nah, jadi contohnya di sini adalah what have you been doing? Ada yang tahu ini apa tensesnya? And then ini jawabnya swimming. It's a verbal group definite, indicative, non-modal, positive, active, and present in present. Pokoknya kalau pakai tenses gitu ya, entah itu nominal atau verbal, itu dinamakan verbal ellipsis. What have you been doing? Di sini pakai present perfect continuous. Okay, very good. And the following, the last is conjunction. It's very easy. We usually heard this in the example, like we visit a museum in Texas and traveling around by car. Conjunctionnya di mana? The conjunction is and. There are so many conjunction, of course, but I guess it's good for you to look for. Maybe read on Google or asking to your teacher. Okay. Now we have talked about cohesion. Now we talk about coherence. Jadi gini, ada yang bilang bahwa kalimat itu tidak cohesion masih bisa difahami. Artinya kalau kalimat itu tidak sesuai dengan grammatical atau conjunctionnya masih kurang tepat, itu bisa difahami. Tapi kalau kalimat itu nggak coherence, katanya nggak bisa difahami. Apa sih coherence itu? So, coherence is the familiar and expected relationship in experience which is to connect the meaning of utterance, even when those connections are not explicitly made. Itu katanya Yu. Tapi ada lagi yang lebih simple, kita kenal sebagai the ways a text makes sense to readers and writers through the relevance and accessibility of its figuration of concepts, ideas, and theories. Or kata lainnya, very general principle of interpretation of language in context or relationship deal with text as a whole. Jadi coherence itu adalah memahami sesuatu berdasarkan makna, kondisi, dan situasi. Itu coherence. Contohnya kalau kita ngomong, itu nyambung kalau diajak ngomong. Saya berbicara tentang materi kita sekarang, tiba-tiba saya ngomong tentang kecelakaan. Nah, itu bisa dibilang tidak coherence, nggak nyambung. Oke, begitu ya. Dan bagaimana kita paham? Kita paham berdasarkan itu tadi. Kita melihat konteks apa yang sedang kita bicarakan dan kita memahaminya setelah kalimat-kalimat itu digabungkan menjadi satu. Artinya tidak bisa kita pahami secara terpisah. Oke, kita lihat contoh di bawah ini. Nah, contohnya gini, yang paling umum ya kalau dalam bahasa Inggris ini plant sale. Yang kedua garage sale. Ada plant sale. Jadi tanaman dijual. Maksudnya apa ya? Kalau dalam bahasa Indonesia gitu ya. Maksudnya plant sale itu adalah someone is selling plants. Berarti orang yang jualan sayuran. Itu namanya plant sale. Nah, biar nggak panjang ya, makanya pakai kata plant sale. Yang kedua adalah garage sale. Masa garasi dijual gitu, dipindah? Nggak mungkin kan? Apa sih maksudnya? Garage sale means not selling garage, but someone is selling household items for their garage. This one of requires some familiarity with suburban life. Yeah, like jualan sapu, jualan pel-pelan. Nah, itu namanya garage sale. Oke, itu dinamakan coherence. Itu namanya coherence. Garage sale, plant sale itu namanya coherence. Kita bisa tahu mananya dari kebiasaan di daerah itu atau dari konteks. Kan ada tuh ditulis di depan tokonya, garage sale. Gak mungkin kan di dalamnya banyak garasi tertata gimana? Seberapa lebar? Nggak mungkin. Kalau di situ ada sapu dan lain sebagainya, berarti kita bisa ambil conclusion ternyata jualan sapu. Nah, kayak gitu. Oke, yang kedua adalah contoh yang ketiga, cohesion and coherence. Kalimat yang cohesion and coherence seperti apa sih? My favorite color is blue. I like it because it is calming and it's relax me. I often go outside in the summer and lie on the grass and look into the clear sky when I'm stressed. For this reason, I'd have to say that my favorite color is blue. Dari kalimat yang dipakai, dari susunan kata yang digunakan, makai conjunction dengan tepat, noun-nya bisa dijelaskan, kelas katanya bisa kita teliti. Ini dinamakan cohesion. Dan dia juga coherence. Kenapa dia suka biru? Karena menurut dia biru itu sangat relaxing. Oke. And the following, cohesion but not coherence. Nah, cohesion artinya kita bisa tahu noun-nya yang mana, terus ada conjunction-nya, tapi tidak bisa difahami maksudnya. Gak nyambung. Nah, contohnya, my favorite color is blue. Bagus ya, tapi kita lihat selanjutnya. Blue sport cars go very fast. Driving in their way is dangerous and can cause many car crashes. I had a car accident once and broke my leg. I was very sad because I had to miss a holiday in Europe because of my injury. Gak nyambung, kalau yang ini tidak coherence karena gak nyambung. Yang diomongin awalnya blue color, suka blue color, tiba-tiba ke blue car, terus tiba-tiba kecelakaan, terus tiba-tiba ke holiday. Nggak nyambung. Kalau kita lihat apa sih maksudnya? Nah, begitu. Tapi secara cohesionnya dapat. Kita bisa tahu caranya dia bercerita itu sudah menggunakan grammatical yang baik. Blue sports cars go. Terus habis itu I had to miss. Nah, dari awal dia sudah bisa menggunakan past sampai akhir pun dia bercerita di masa lalunya dia juga bisa menggunakan past. Nah, di sini dan dia juga menggunakan some conjunction seperti kata and lain sebagainya. Coba dianalisa teman-teman. Nah, yang contoh selanjutnya not cohesion but coherence. Nggak cohesion, artinya nggak jelas susunannya. Tapi coherence bisa dipahami meskipun butuh waktu yang lama. Gitu ya. My favorite color is blue. I'm calm and relaxed. In the summer, I lie on the grass and look up. Ini kurang cohesion. Kenapa? Karena dia tidak menggunakan conjunction. Mungkin orang akan paham lama-kelamaan. Oh, ternyata dia suka warna biru. Karena warna biru itu sangat merelaksasikan dia, sangat membuat dia nyaman dan tenang. Terus kalau waktu siang ketika matahari terlihat terang dan langit terlihat biru, dia suka tiduran di lapangan dan melihat ke atas. Nah, kayak gitu. Bisa difahami teman-teman ya? So thank you. That's all for me about cohesion and coherence. So I give back to Miss Ani.
Well, for the last explanation is about cultural schemata. What is cultural schemata, guys? Do you know that? Yeah, cultural schemata is skema budaya. Cultural schemata by George Yule is pre-existing knowledge structure based on experience in a particular culture. So this culture it still exists right now, but it's already happened for a long time ago, and like mendarah daging in that country, in that place. Take the example. In abroad, you usually go to school without wearing a uniform. It's okay because that's their culture. In abroad, you may say something bad like motherfucker. It's just so. They feel just so because that's their daily language, their daily slang. But if you are in Indonesia, the culture of Indonesia, if you go to the school, you have to wear a uniform. It is must. Mostly the school in Indonesia. And if you say something bad in Indonesia while your friends they understand about English, you say motherfuck. Oh my God. Perhaps they will angry because that's not culture in Indonesia. Another example is about the culture in Surabaya and in Malang. The culture in Surabaya, mostly the society of Surabaya, they will say jancuk. Sorry, at the first, jancuk is their daily slang, their daily language, their daily words. So they feel like it's also jancuk. That's the culture of Surabaya. But if you say in Malang, you say it with bravely. So they will think that you are a bad guy, a bad person, because that's not their daily life, their daily language, their daily words. That's not. So cultural schemata is the culture that's already exists from the many years ago, but still exists right now. That's cultural schemata. So I guess that's all from our group, guys. Thank you for your nice attention. Thank you for your nice watching. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And lastly say wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.